Welcome to the Greater Pensacola Chamber Toddcast, sponsored by Moorhead Law Group. On the Toddcast, Chamber President Todd Thomson talks to the leaders that are making a difference and driving the conversations that will impact our community. Now here's the Chamber President, Todd Thomson.
Welcome back to the Greater Pensacola Toddcast. I'm Todd Thomson, President and CEO of the Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. The Toddcast is sponsored by Moorhead Law Group. They can handle all your real estate needs. So if you're buying property or selling property or just have some general real estate questions, you can contact Moorhead Law Group and they will be happy to help you out. So today on the Toddcast, I have Allison Chase. She is President and CEO of the Able Trust. Allison, welcome to the Toddcast.
Todd, thank you so much for having me here today. I always love being in Pensacola, and this is a special treat to be on the Toddcast.
Well, I'm honored that you're here and that you're going to be on today and going to talk about some exciting stuff that you're working on.
Absolutely.
So first, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to the Able Trust.
Absolutely. So like you, I'm a native Floridian, born and raised in Tallahassee. I went to Florida State University and I did all of the things wrong that you do in trying to decide what you wanted to do. And finally, FSU said, you've got to decide on a major or you have to leave. So I picked up the catalog, went through it, and thought, this looks good. And I ended up majoring in rehab services, got my bachelor's and master's, and never looked back. So that's what brought me to the field of disability employment services. I've worked in it for 30 years. I've worked for the state vocational rehabilitation program. I have had a private consulting company and worked in nonprofits. So I say I have a 360-degree view of the field.
Okay. So tell us exactly, what is the Able Trust? What is your mission?
Absolutely. So the Able Trust was created 31 years ago in 1990 at the same time that the Americans with Disabilities Act was being passed by Congress in Washington. And the Florida legislature looked around and realized that Florida needed more resources for helping people with disabilities get into employment.
Okay.
So every state has a vocational rehabilitation program whose mission is just that, employment for people with disabilities. And the legislature, in their wisdom, said we need to, in effect, create a foundation for the state vocational rehabilitation program to create resources, to create collaborations, relationships, just to strengthen the whole system statewide. And that's what we've been doing for 31 years. We have worked heavily in grants, so providing grants to local service providers. For instance, we work with the local Goodwill here for a high school program that we have that's called High School High Tech. We've also worked with the ARC Gateway here. Mm-hmm. We've had several connections here. Over 31 years, we've touched every county in the state through our grant making. And we are going through a transition. Our board is appointed by the governor.
Right.
We have a whole new board that started last November. I'm really excited about those members. Many of them are business leaders,
right?
Like your members. So it's wonderful to have that perspective. And many of them, in addition to being business leaders, are also either a person with a disability or a parent of a person with a disability. So it's really great to have that perspective.
Right, it's personal.
Absolutely, yeah. They have that personal connection to our mission and are really passionate about it because they've seen it in play in their own lives.
Right.
So under their leadership, we are really trying to strengthen our support of Florida businesses like the Pensacola Chamber here, because we know that there are many businesses that are doing great things. Right here in Pensacola, you've got lots of examples of large businesses that really do it right. You know, they really focus and are committed to hiring people with disabilities. And we want to take those stories and share them and grow them and support them around the state. So that's really, we're not going to stop doing grant work, but we really want to look towards the future as a big business supporter.
Okay. So you said you were created by the legislature in 1990. Mm-hmm. How are you funded? Is that through the legislature or public?
We get some funding from the state legislature. Okay. We also get some grant making, like most nonprofits and foundations.
Right.
We are a grant giver, and we also, apply for grants, and then a big portion of what we get comes through private and corporate donations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you're here in Pensacola today, and we've got some great businesses who you work with.
Absolutely.
And so talk about some of those.
So, well, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow for lunch, we're visiting with Bill Dagnall from Navy Federal.
Great guy.
We also have a relationship, and Donna, who's sitting here in the room with me, comes to us from the Florida Chamber and brings a lot of really wonderful relationships. But we, in the past and ongoing in the future, with Baptist Health and their global community employment, global, I'm saying that wrong, global GCE.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have had a grant with them in the past for Project Search. We also, like I said, we work with the Goodwill here for our high school high tech program. And, but want to grow those relationships over here. Jennifer Connolly, who is the head of the Great Northwest, Florida's Great Northwest, is a former Able Trust employee.
Okay.
So she's really committed and, wants us to be a part of what that group is doing as well.
Right. So we were talking before we started, and so is it 1 in 4?
That's right.
Americans are considered disabled.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
So explain. I mean, to me that seemed
shocking.
High. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really surprised. So explain what that means, because sometimes you think a disability is something physical, you see it, but it's not.
Right. Absolutely. So yes, you're right. 1 in 4 Americans are living with a disability, and 70% of those individuals have a disability that's invisible.
Right.
So the kinds of things like you're talking about that you can see and, that we all, are more familiar with, that's only 30% of the population. So the other 70% could be things like learning disabilities, dyslexia, there's lots of reading and math disabilities, mental health issues themselves. And it's something that we can come in and out of. We are all potential candidates of being in the group of people with disabilities.
Right.
So it's much broader than I think most people imagine it to be. And not just by disability, but by skill, by interest. It's the population of people with disabilities is as varied as the rest of the general population.
Right. So you mentioned Navy Federal. It's our largest employer here in outside of the military, but private employer. But you also do outreach to small businesses.
Absolutely.
So what does that look like?
So, well, as most of your members are probably small businesses.
Right, exactly.
And we actually have a relationship with the Small Business Development Centers of Florida, where that's one of the groups that we're meeting with while we're over here in Pensacola, Greg Britton and his staff. And as he is educating us, 2.8 million of employers in Florida are considered small businesses. So that is, they're the backbone of our economy. And many small businesses, I would say that most of the programs that we work with are working with small businesses.
Right, good.
Making those connections and relationships and supporting them. So, as we've mentioned, Navy Federal, they are huge, and they've got a huge HR function. They've got people on staff who are specifically dedicated to diversity inclusion, which disability is a part of. But most small businesses, they don't have that,
right.
And that's one of the things that we want to help provide the supports to those businesses, and why we're working with SBDC to help them be able to support the businesses that they're just supporting on a daily basis as they're growing and developing their businesses. How can they support those small businesses in thinking about people with disabilities as a talent pool?
Sure.
Because as we know, everybody's scrambling for talent now, scrambling to find people who meet their qualifications, who are going to stay around. Retention is one of the things that we hear a lot about. And it's been shown in research, many research studies, that people with disabilities are loyal, and when they have the proper supports, that they will stay around for a long time.
Yeah. So I got your email. It was from yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So pulling it, and I think it was like 520,000 jobs are available right now. So I mean, the need is there.
It's great. Yeah.
We've seen it here locally for a year now.
Right.
And has not improved. So yeah, when we're talking about these small businesses and what's the best way for them to get connected with the Able Trust and get those resources?
Absolutely. So we have on our website, we have a link to what's called the Able Network, and that's what we call the growing network of businesses that we're creating around the state. So if you go to our website, which is abletrust.org, and click on the Able Network, there's a wealth of information there and suggestions, from small ways to get started to big ways. How do I get connected to my local providers? How do I get connected to the local vocational rehabilitation office? I think we're going to talk a little bit about October being Disability Employment Awareness Month. We have a whole toolkit on there that is focused at supporting businesses who want to do something in October for Disability Employment Awareness Month. It can be things like, getting connected with your school district to invite a classroom of students to come tour your facility. It can be mentoring somebody with a disability. So one of the things that we know, so October is Disability Awareness Month. And awareness is important, but it has to go beyond awareness.
Right.
So just like you and I were talking earlier, with anything that is unknown to us, there's a level of fear, or we create images in our mind that aren't always true, stereotypes and those kinds of things. So being able to have some opportunities to have proximity to a person with a disability, to see that, like we just discussed, that 1 in 4, it's way beyond individuals with physical disabilities or, things that we can see. There are people that I'm sure that most of your members already have somebody on their staff with a disability that they may not even know are working for them.
Right. So, but you have resources available.
We do. So we've got that whole toolkit, and we also can help you help businesses get connected to local resources as well.
Okay.
That's as a entity created by the state, as a direct support organization to the state's BR program, we want to vocational rehabilitation. We want to be able to get them connected as well.
Right. So you mentioned Disability Awareness Month is October.
Right.
So a few weeks away, but talk about that a little bit and what we can expect. We've got some exciting things coming up. The biggest thing, we are also doing a podcast. So we will be launching the podcast. Oh, great.
We don't have a cool name like the Toddcast. Yeah. Maybe we'll have Donna, you and I can throw around some names on the way back to Tallahassee. But highlighting, as Donna has said earlier conversations, businesses. We know that businesses want to learn from businesses. So we want to highlight businesses, large and small, that are already committed and doing disability inclusion right. But there's challenges in any kind of hiring and recruiting and retaining. There's challenges. So we want to also be able to say, hey, here's what this business found out. Here's how you can maybe we can help you avoid that. Right. So that'll be part of what's happening in October. We've, obviously social media is huge. And so we'll be doing a lot of social media campaign. And there's on the toolkit on the website, if anybody, we've already got things that they can grab and paste. Okay. But we're also going to be doing some virtual industry tours. So to be able to highlight, here's what's going on around the state, here's the trends, here's where the needs are that we can help with. Right. And I'm losing my train of thought. What else is happening in Dean? Probably the best way for businesses is to, if you go on to our website, is to get on our mailing list so that you can see what's happening every week. Like you said, we sent out a newsletter, so we'll be sending out, probably more frequently, different ways for businesses to get involved
Right.
in October.
Right. Now, are you housed within the Florida Chamber, or are you separate?
No, we're separate.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you do work with them?
We have, so I'm on the trustees for the Florida Chamber Foundation. We have had, we've worked with them on research in the past. So we do have a close partnership,
Right.
but we're not, formally connected in any way.
Yeah. Who are some of your other partners?
Well, the SBDC.
Right.
The Florida Chamber, Career Source Florida.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Right.
Able United. Able United is a program for individuals with disabilities to be able to work at a high. Some people with disabilities receive government, supports like Medicaid and Medicare, and the Able United helps them be able to set aside money that doesn't affect those services.
Right.
Obviously, we work with vocational rehabilitation. We work with the Florida Philanthropic Network,
Right.
And trying to make partnerships with as many of the local chambers, like here in Pensacola, as possible.
Right. So as a chamber, a local chamber,
Mm-hmm.
what can we do? Is it mainly sharing the information, making sure it's getting into the hands of our local businesses?
I think so, and also, we're more than happy to come and talk to businesses if you all have opportunities. I know in Tallahassee we have luncheons and roundtables and things like that. I think to be able to talk to businesses about what their experiences have been or what their questions are, what their curiosities might be, and just to have the kind of conversation that you and I are having. How would this work for my business?
Right.
What other businesses that look like mine have done this, and what has been their experience? I'm a small business. I don't have time to be able to do, special projects, special hiring initiatives. How can the Able Trust and your partners
Right.
help make this easier for me?
Yeah. So, and I know we were talking before, your focus is, in the past you were saying you focused on individuals and sort of the success stories, but now you want to focus on businesses and how they can create those success stories.
Right. So to be able to, find businesses that have had success and share their stories and share their experiences so other businesses can learn from that, but then help, like you said, help businesses create their own new stories. How can we can help make those things happen, make the connections, because there are lots of resources here in your local area, but when it's not something that you're looking for,
Right.
You just don't know about it. So to be able to make those kind of connections.
Right. So what's the best way for people, whether they're businesses or whether people who have disabilities that are trying to learn more about your mission and what you do? What's the best way to learn more?
So I would say go to our website and get on our mailing list, because and follow us on social media. We're on all the major social media channels,
Right.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I know I'm missing one other, Twitter. Yep. And so, follow us there, and just call us too. We love to talk and hear about people's personal stories and what we can do to support them. We really believe that businesses have a role in helping us close the employment gap, which is one thing I didn't tell you. So the gap for employment participation of people with disabilities between the general population is anywhere between 40 and 45%.
Okay, wow.
So of people who are willing, want to, and able to work, that number nationally and here in Florida has hovered between 30 and 35% for people with disabilities. For the general population, it's 75%.
Okay.
So that's a really large gap,
Right.
and we're dedicated to closing that. But we see businesses have a role, providers have a role, communities have a role, educators, people with disabilities themselves have a role.
Right.
And we're trying to bring all of that together,
Yes.
and help each of those groups figure out what their roles are and make it all work together.
Right. It really is a community-wide
Absolutely.
effort. And
Absolutely.
we all need to kind of sit at the table to make sure that we're maximizing our effort.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to share with us?
I think, just this is a great opportunity, and, anything that we can do to support the work of the chamber, support the work of your members, please let us know, because we know that, I mean, it's a big lift. 35%, that's a big gap.
Right.
And we need, as you've said, it's a community effort. It's a statewide effort. And we want to be kind of the nexus for bringing all of those different pieces together to be successful.
Yeah. So, Allison Chase with the Able Trust, thank you so much for coming over from Tallahassee and sitting down with me today and sharing your mission. And we will, here at the Greater Pensacola Chamber, we will work to promote your work and try to find those partners and help you reach that goal that you're trying to make.
Well, thank you so much, Todd. This has been a real pleasure.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Allison, and we'll catch y'all next time on the Toddcast.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Toddcast. To learn more, check out the Greater Pensacola Chamber's Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at ToddcastPCola. That's Toddcast, letter P, colon. We hope you join us again next time on the Toddcast.